Hello and welcome to another edition of Moments with Mindleaps. For those of you who don't know, my name is Rebecca Davis and I'm the founder and executive director of Mindleaps. And what I like to say every Friday when I get to do this part of my schedule is I like to say that this is my favorite part of my job right now, when I get to speak with dancers, artists, researchers from around the world and learn from them and hear their stories both during COVID and during the times that we're in right now, and then go away motivated and ready. And now, for this week, today we are welcoming Giulia Coti Zelati with us. And she is connecting right now. Look at that perfect timing.
Hi.
Hi, Giulia. Right on time, which doesn't surprise me because Giulia is one of our very famous and endearing terms, the Guinea girls, which are four of the most outstanding young trainers that we've had who've traveled with us to Guinea, West Africa, and did a fantastic job on our training program and got the name Guinea Girls because they are so professional, so on time, so responsible, so organized, such great teachers, and so intelligent. And therefore, here you are, Giulia.
You're gonna make me blush.
Then I'm doing my job. So Giulia is joining us from the UK right now, and Giulia is an Italian dance artist, although her career has taken her around the world. She has an MA from the London Contemporary School of Dance, and she came into the Mindleaps fold from her interest in both working internationally and working with research, and then working with movement and dance on camera. So many exciting things to hear about today, Giulia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for asking me.
So before we get to all of the exciting things about COVID, let's learn about something a little bit more exciting, optimistic, positive. One of the things that connects so many of us in the Mindleaps world and in this community is our love, our passion, maybe our obsession for dance and the arts. And I know that's been something that's been driving you and your career and your choices. Even the circles that you've built around yourself. Share with us a little bit more about how dance came into your life, how the arts have helped build who you are today.
Yeah, sure. Well, so I started dancing when I was very little. I think I was 4, and I went because my friend was taking dance classes and I wanted to be able to hang out with her. So I decided I would join in. And then, of course, she stopped later on, and I just kept going and couldn't give it up. But for me, and I guess initially it was, I was little and it was the fun part of it. But as I grew up, I think I was quite shy and a little bit self-conscious, especially in like my teenage years. And I feel like dance did had a huge part in me getting over that. I really when I was dancing, I found a way of connecting with people that didn't need me panicking over using the right words to interact with somebody or asking the right questions. And I just found that I wasn't as self-conscious, I wasn't as shy. And so that really helped me come out of my shell, if you want to say it that way. And I think a huge thing was the fact that dancing helped me really feel confident in my body, like being aware of my body and how I was moving in space. And I think that's really a big thing about social interaction for me, like the body language and the way you interact with other people, even if you're not touching, just the physical presence. So I think that side of it really helped bring me into who I am today and helping me just be more confident and more myself.
I think both of those things that you point out, both the connection to confidence and also how body language is so important and how it changes people's perceptions, I think is something that we've really seen in recent years kind of catch up to the dance world, where people are now telling like CEOs, you need to go take these classes to study body language, and all these psychologists are producing research on body language and how you should stand and when you should do this and when you should do that. And I kind of feel like the dance world has been like waving their hands saying, we knew this all along.
Yeah.
So I think your lesson learned is a lesson that the rest of the world is trying to catch up on. And I love what you say about how you got started dancing, which I didn't know about you, Giulia. And it reminds me of my own story. My older sister was in dance, so then I had to go too, and then she quit and I stayed. So so that friend network is very important in getting people involved in dance, which is also something that's been really interesting in how you've built your career, I think. A lot of people kind of think of dancers as, oh, you go and you train in this one dance form, and then you audition for these companies, and then you dance on stage, and then you retire and you teach. And it's so interesting to see the way that you've leveraged your academic talent, is what I'd like to say, to really bring a deep thoughtfulness to your work, but also the experiences you've had. I mean, London Contemporary Dance School is so prestigious. And then also marrying that with research and in the kinds of communities that you've taught in, both with Mindleaps and without Mindleaps. Maybe you can share with us a little bit about this professional career and how it's really extended beyond just dance.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it's definitely true what you say, that, you know, we think of that straight line of you train, you perform, you teach, and that's it. And it's great if that's what people want to do. And I think that's definitely how I went into training. That was my idea, because that's what I expected, or what was expected automatically. But as things progressed and I got exposed to different things in my training, and even after that started to change, I as part of my MA, I did an apprenticeship with a dance company based in North England, where I am now. And they were working at the time on a show that involved 12 young kids showing, like, in the show with us on stage. And those kids were kids who wouldn't have otherwise gotten the chance to dance or be on stage. They'd never danced before. And we were working with them and rehearsing and performing with them for a few months. And that really got me to see the change in those kids and how they were growing and changing. I was working specifically with one little girl, and I mean, I say little, she's older now. It was a few years ago, but she was so quiet at the beginning. You know, she would work with me, and people were joking, saying that she was like my twin, because we were both so organized and knew exactly what we were supposed to do and where we were supposed to be. And she was blonde with blue eyes, which of course helped. But but like, by the end of that show, she would not stop talking to me. She was always around. She was always talking, always like very bouncy. And that was such a huge difference to me. I just felt like I needed to understand that better. And as well, I feel like I chose dance and I loved dance, but I always had at the back of the mind the fact that that felt a bit selfish to me. And I didn't just want to do something for myself. And that's how I saw the kind of straight line career path. So that kind of started to open the door into, oh, okay, maybe there's something here. So then I focused my MA thesis on that, on looking how creative dance can help develop skills that are not necessarily just dance skills. It's not just about how high your leg goes or how well you perform, but it's, you know, I was looking at empathy and confidence and social interaction. And it was a really short project, but it opened my mind a lot. And yeah, and then from there, I've still performed in different things, but that want to dig deeper into that side of things kept developing. And so I decided that MA wasn't enough and I needed to understand more. And I wanted to understand from somebody who had it down. So I started researching. I remember where I was sitting. So it was summer, and I was at my parents' house in the living room, sitting at the table, looking at the computer, and I found you guys. And
I felt like the story was gonna like lead to mine, and so I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I was literally looking for opportunities with organizations that use dance not to train somebody to be a dancer, but for other purposes. And I think I watched every video you guys have up. I read everything that was in your website, and then I sent Eleanor an email. And that was like a year before I started the training. But I just remember like something went off and I was like, right, this makes so much sense.
This,
So yeah.
well, so even like when you first came into training with Mindleaps, that's why the Guinea girls got the name that they did, is because you were so organized. I totally believe that you watched every single video and read every single word we've ever written about Mindleaps, because this like encyclopedia attended our training. And I remember looking at Eleanor thinking like, there's nothing we can teach Giulia. She already knows everything.
Wow, that's not quite true.
And your team is here, Giulia. You should know. So the rest of our Guinea girls, Toshia and Diana, we're happy to see you, and Olivier and Rwanda, and Bashir and Martin and Onsu, and Besa from North Macedonia. So your fan club is growing, Giulia.
I'm so happy to have everybody here. I wish we could be in person, but this is the next best option.
And so it's really true that this group of trainers that came to Mindleaps was just particularly well versed in what we do, and came because of exactly the story that you told us, a beautiful story about there was some other connection that happened in their dance careers that made them realize like this is actually something they want to explore. Which is why I'm so happy that you ended up traveling to Guinea with Mindleaps, because then at least we knew that we were giving you a new experience that you could learn from. It wasn't just our website or a PowerPoint presentation. And I know the experience in Guinea, even for me, the first time I went, is so huge, because you're so struck by this country, but then at the same time, just this incredible love of talent and dance and passion for music, and such sophisticated use of rhythms that you find just in the daily life of Guineans, that is just a hugely powerful experience for I think anyone involved in dance when they come to West Africa. And I wonder if you could share with us, I don't know, a couple of the memories or the moments or the kids that stick out with you. No, well, we're not like eight months later. Still should be fresh in your mind.
It feels like yesterday. But yeah, I mean, it was an incredible trip, and I'd never been to Africa before, and Guinea is amazing. And I remember, I mean, there's a few memories, but one thing that really, really struck with me, I think it was the second or third day. We hadn't been there long, and I came to the center to watch somebody else teach. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting at the front, and I'd already sat at the front a couple times to have a look. And there was this girl, and she was one of the youngest ones. And maybe the first time she was sitting next to me, she didn't really interact. She just sat there, and I sat there, and we both watched, and great. And then after a couple days, or the day after, she didn't speak a word of English, and obviously I didn't speak a word over a language. But she really wanted to interact. She was really so we had this whole conversation with no words. I have no idea how we managed, but we talked about we exchanged how old we were, and taught each other little things, and all of this during class. And then at some point she got up, and she went into the English class, I think, and she came back out with a piece of paper. And I still have that piece of paper. She wrote down her name in capital letters and handed it over to me. And I just thought that was so special, because we were really having a conversation with somebody who didn't know me, who, knew nothing about me, and I didn't know anything about her. And just her willingness to interact and share and learn about me, and wanting to let me know about her, that was really striking, especially because it was right at the beginning of the trip. So
it's so interesting to have you as a group of dancers, international dancers who travel to these countries, and then when you reflect back on it, almost never do I hear you as a group of dancers reflect on, oh, this kid was so good at pirouettes, or oh, this kid was so good at doing all of these acrobatic moves. It's always a moment about some sort of human connection that continues to surprise us about dance, that it somehow dance just erases all of those things and allows you to connect with someone, as you say, who nobody understands the other one's culture, nobody understands the language, but that bond is like somehow so strong when there's like this willingness to learn.
Yeah.
I love this story.
I think it's the, I think it's the openness. Like, it's something that I don't see a lot here. Like, I feel like that moment would have never happened with a child in the UK. Never.
I think you could add some other countries underneath UK to that list.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then, we've talked about it a little bit, but maybe you'll share a little bit with our group here. What was it like for you to then transition back from this experience in Guinea? So your first time in Africa, even though you were like so well versed and so prepared, and then now come back to, well, a few months after that, COVID and everything else that's happened in this unusual year in the world. What was kind of that transition back, and now during COVID, what's kept you going? What keeps those synapses working so quickly?
Yeah. Well, so I think I was, I think when I came back, so we went in December. So we came back, I think on the 21st or 22nd of December, like right on the verge of Christmas. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm coming home. Everybody's shopping. There's Christmas trees, lots of presents. This just feels surreal. It just felt like, like being chucked from one place to the other, or from one dimension to the other. And I guess it just made me appreciate and put into perspective everything. And also I came back with the thought of, okay, I need to keep doing work, and I need to keep, exploring and understanding and focusing on this. And of course, then COVID happened, and we all got stuck. But I think the big thing for me in this period is being to take the time. I was working 7 days a week right up until lockdown happened, and I was doing things that I loved. But I think I didn't take any time to understand the direction that I was going in with all those things that I was focusing on. And I am not good at standing still and not having anything to do. So I knew that I had to keep busy. So I took the time to reflect, but I also took the time to understand, okay, what else can I create from this? And so I've made an online ballet studio. So I teach pre-recorded online classes to people who can't get out of the house, or maybe are too busy and just want to dance for fun and things like that. And I started also, I made a few, so I also do dance for camera. So I did a couple of films that are coming out soon. One came out today.
Oh.
So
you've been holding back the big news.
Yeah, so one film came out today, and we were supported by Dance City, which is a local organization, and it's a solo of me dancing in front of 14 different cultural venues.
Oh, cool.
That around the city. And it was crazy to film it because it was during lockdown. We were starting filming at 6 a.m. to make sure nobody was around, and all these buildings were shut with like notices at the door. And so I was filming in front of them, like, it was my first, I think I hadn't really gotten into town for like 3 months. And then I went out to do this, and I was like, okay, this is the first approach back to reality.
That sounds more surreal than Christmas after Guinea.
Yeah. Well, on a different level, but yeah. But yeah, and it's, I filmed that a couple months ago, and it's coming out now. And again, that feels different because now things are starting to open up again. And so it feels relevant, but it feels very different because the world looks, again, different. I feel like that's the same every week now. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, you'll definitely have to share it with me. We'll add the link to this live on Instagram so people can watch it, including me. Deanna's telling me to run and go watch it right now. I can't wait. And Giulia, I just think I'll just take a moment to kind of reflect out loud that I just think that what's so interesting is how you talk about, experiences you've had, and then how you are inspired to like learn more or explore further. I hear you use those words, like, then I wanted to explore further. And I just think it's such a healthy attitude for artists, but for anyone, especially people in charge of groups of people or movements, to remember that we can keep learning, and that should inspire us to explore further. And it's not at all surprising that the career you've built, or that you happen to like build a online ballet studio in your spare time with that kind of natural disposition of thinking. It's really remarkable.
Thank you.
And that ties a little bit to what I'd like to ask you next. I mean, I think a lot of young dancers, young artists today still kind of, with what we were touching on earlier, have this idea that I do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I get a job. And that's probably never been true in dance, but it's definitely not true in dance now. It's also maybe not true in other fields now too. Everything is, as you say, it's a new world every week. Now, with your ability to marry a lot of different interests together and have like a breadth of experiences still at such a young age, I wonder what advice you would give to this new generation that is really looking at dance larger than the stage, or thinking how they can marry their interests together that might be diverse.
I think this is definitely something I struggled with during my training. I think you're right. Everybody thinks that you'd go training and then performing, and that's what you do if you choose to be a dancer. And I think the problem is not just the fact that it doesn't happen for everybody, it's also that it's not what everybody wants. But you get, maybe you don't get explicitly told, but I feel like I came out of training thinking that was the only street possible.
Right.
You know, like I wasn't exposed to other possibilities. And I think a lot of my growing into various opportunities and, you know, ending up doing films and training with Mindleaps and everything else that I've been doing is really something that I had to work on to tell myself, okay, this is what you want, and that is your way of success. That is what successful means to you. And I think the only way that I got there, and it's a working process, but I think the only way that I got there was to keep an open mind and take everything as an opportunity. So, you know, I've done projects that I took on, and that was the opportunity to realize that actually I wasn't interested in that, and that wasn't what I wanted. And other times the opportunity was, you know, lock down, take the time to understand what I really want and what direction I want to go in. And sometimes you take an opportunity that you didn't see it coming and you didn't know existed, and it brings you to Guinea. You know, it's when I started training, I didn't know that I would end up here, and I had no idea that I could. I didn't know that this was a path in general. And I think had I not tried everything and kept an open mind and taken everything on board, then I wouldn't have gotten here. I would have stayed in that one path, and that path might not have necessarily been the right one for me. So, and I can't imagine doing anything different now. So I'm glad
I think if the whole world had the kind of the thought or the reaction that I heard you say, that, you know, the opportunity of lockdown, oh man, we would have a happy world today if everyone could see lockdown as an opportunity and not an impediment. So that's a very healthy disposition.
Thing, you know, I'm not saying it was positive. No one would wish for that, but I tried to get the positive out of the context that unfortunately was there.
I think I'm pleasantly surprised to hear how you kind of summarize this entire journey and career for us as like really looking at opportunities and being willing to explore opportunities and see how then that builds the path. Like you said, like this exposure to opportunity for the next generation and for the young artists is so important, so that they understand like the plethora of ways that they can go. And something that we all need to make sure happens for those following.
Yeah, and I think for 99% of dance artists, it's not a straight line. Wherever you end up, it's the opposite. It's wiggly and, you know, full of turns, and that's okay, because then you can take all of those things to where you end up. So
like the acceptance of the fact that it's not linear and that doesn't make you not successful is also a lesson that can be passed on, probably.
Yeah.
So Giulia, I know you're in the UK right now, and I hope that that community is somewhat okay.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out here that if it becomes not okay, you should know that you're not that far away from Guinea and our wonderful family in Conakry that would love to see you back in West Africa when your heart and your health feel comfortable with that.
Don't tempt me. Yeah, I can't wait to be back and to be able to, go back and see everybody. I message with so many people that I met in Guinea regularly. And we send each other videos and voice messages, and it's just so nice. I feel like I'm part of that family and I'm part of that group. And honestly, I I'm not even that good at keeping in touch with like my friend, my longtime friends. Like I don't talk to them that often. I'm not good enough, but they're so good at keeping in touch and making sure that I'm okay and letting me know about them, which is amazing.
Well, and your family extends beyond Guinea. Today, when Emmanuel Asingwe, who was one of our refugees from Rwanda, who is in Guinea with Giulia, Emmanuel saw that you were going to be on the Instagram Live, and he said, "Well, I don't have an internet connection in Mahama refugee camp, but please send me a photo." So we will send your family that's also in the refugee camps in Rwanda a big hello, Giulia. Thank you so much for spending this time with us, sharing some of that bright brain inside your head with us, and keeping us motivated to keep going.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I talked to Emmanuel yesterday, so I'm really happy that you'll send him a picture, and hopefully I'll get to see him soon as well.
Thank you so much. And you'll be followed by our Legacy of Guinea Girls next week, where we invite Sheila Grant on Moments with Mindleaps. So.
I'll be listening. I'll be tuning in.
Okay, thank you so much, Giulia. Stay safe there, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you so much. See you later.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Bye.